All right, here we go. Good day and welcome to the Frontline Chatter podcast brought to you by the World of EUC. I am your host, Jarian Gibson, back with one of our co-hosts, Patrick Cobble. How you doing today, Patrick?
Doing good. It's stopped raining here, so we have a cross country meet tonight, so we don't have to run the rain. I guess just the mud.
Well, hey, hopefully that stays away and it's not too muddy. Looks like you got the rain that we got here previously as everything goes from west to east. So I get it first here in Kansas City and then you get it there in the Nashville area. So
Yep.
But we are here today with one of our core sponsors, who also has sponsored EUC World the last 2 years. We are here with Parallels, and from Parallels, we have Chris Marks. I'm no stranger to Chris because Chris and I used to be coworkers for a while. So welcome to the podcast, Chris. And how you doing today?
Really good, Jorian. Really good. Really great to see you guys again.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely been a while.
Wasn't that long ago that you had your greatest demo ever webinar, which is so cool.
Yeah. If anyone else there wants to search for Parallels RAS Minecraft demo, I'm sure you'll find it.
Yep.
In fact, no, go straight to the World of EUC because it's on the World of EUC YouTube channel.
That's right.
And we'll also put the link in the show notes blog of this as well. And yeah, that was pretty cool. That was probably one of the coolest webinars I've seen in a while. So I really liked how you did that.
Just something a little bit different, isn't it, to PowerPoint?
Yes.
So for those that don't know you, Chris, kind of tell us about yourself real quick. And so that our listeners can kind of understand who you are.
Yeah, so I've been in event user computing for longer than a lot of the listeners have been alive, about 25 years, 30 years, that kind of thing. I've been involved in the community space for a very long time as well. I was one of the founder kind of members of what was then Pub Forum, which is now E2E MVC. And I also helped run the UK EUC Forum. Unsurprisingly, that's in the UK. From a Parallels point of view, I'm a principal product manager. And that means I speak to customers and partners and anyone who happens to have an opinion on how to make the product better.
And so now with you being with Parallels for a couple of years and also always very active in the community, kind of give our listeners, for who are not familiar with Parallels, kind of give us an overview of Parallels for them, please.
Yeah, so Parallels is primarily in the application space, right? We specialize in getting the right applications to the right people in the right environment at the right time, right? So that goes all the way from having your application on your device in a time when perhaps your local operating system can't deliver that. So we've got a thing called Parallels Desktop, which specifically runs on macOS, and it allows you to run multiple copies of macOS or Windows or Linux, all on the same kind of macOS device. Really very popular in lots of different use cases, particularly things like application development, for example, where you're developing multiple OSs. All the way through to what people will probably term VDI, which is what's called Remote Application Server. So that is delivering virtualized apps and desktops. Don't need to explain that to you guys. Also things, kind of up and coming stuff like browser isolation, where we're securing browser-based applications as well.
Yeah, because one of the things that y'all have done with Parallels RAS, you've also went into that secure workspace, the DAS, and now browser isolation. What are you seeing from your customers when it comes to adopting some of those things? Because RAS has been out, I guess, the whole pretty much almost since inception. Secure workspace is just, I think, a brand associated with that, and then DAS is the hosting of it, and then obviously browser isolation is its own flavor of ice cream.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in this game a very long time. Not far after the first players in the game were around. We were pretty short there shortly afterwards, albeit with a different name. To cut a long story short, I guess what we're seeing is the way people consume applications is changing, right?
Yep.
But people are doing what they've done for 20 years. So they're being told by the newest vendor they're speaking to that everyone is doing insert new stuff here. And what happens is what's been happening, and again, I don't need to tell you guys this really, but what's been happening is what's been happening for ages, which is, yeah, they adopt the new stuff, but the old stuff doesn't disappear. So we're doing plenty of new stuff. So they're moving to, in our world, SaaS-based applications, but the installed applications are staying there. They're moving to public cloud delivered services, but on the whole, most organizations have still got on-prem as well. So they're dealing with more complexity. So rather than kind of swapping out one way of delivering stuff with another way of delivering stuff, they've got two ways of delivering stuff, or three ways, or four ways. So what we're doing is, rather than persuading customers that they're going to get to a 100% game, which has, in my view, hardly ever happened in IT, we're accepting the fact that customers are going to be in this hybrid mode for a decent amount of time. So instead of persuading them and pushing them in a particular direction, we're accepting that and going, hey, the real issue is, if you're dealing with all this complexity, you do not want to push it onto the normal humans.
Yep.
Don't want to push this onto the non-IT people, because that's really, really going to negatively affect your business. So we're focusing on making it really simple at the point of consumption, and accepting the fact that application delivery is quite complex and you've got lots of choices.
Yeah, I know with some vendors, the DAS and that is they've been drug along, not even just pushed, right? Like they feel like, well, they don't really have a choice in this. So you guys give them a lot of choice with the way that your deployment models work, and the options and the licensing and pricing and packaging, to make it a lot easier for everyone to consume as an organization.
Yeah, so as you say, Patrick, we've got a single concurrent user license for Parallels RAS, and it allows you to run anywhere. If you want to run on-prem, you can run it. If you want to run multiple hypervisors, if you want to run Nutanix AHV, which I know is close to Jarian's heart, if you want to run Hyper-V, or you want to run stay on VMware, you can do all three of those things with one license, and all it is a concurrent user license.
Yep.
Yeah, a big key there on choice and simplicity there with Parallels. I know that you guys have been, recent recognition for a major player in the inaugural IDC MarketScape for worldwide application streaming in enterprise browsers. For a second year in a row, you were a visionary in the 2025 Gartner Magic Quadrant for desktop as a service. Any other new releases or announcements on the Parallels ends? And congrats on the recognition as well. Starting to see Parallels more and more out there. So you guys are definitely making noise in the space.
Yeah, I mean, it's not possible to be closer to the leader quadrant than us, right? We literally cut the line in that Magic Quadrant. So watch this space next year. From a releases point of view, we've got version 21 of RAS is being released around the November time. And there's a whole load of new stuff coming out there. Almost all of the new developments we're bringing are customer-led. So almost all of them have come from customers who have said, or prospects who've said, hey, look, this product is great, but what if it could do this? Or this is the way it currently works. It wouldn't be better if we worked like that. And that kind of cooperative way of working is where a lot of our recent releases in the last kind of 12, 18 months have come from.
Sure. And I think that goes back to y'all's history too. Y'all have always been customer focused on need this. Okay, yeah, let's do it. And it shows up in the development life cycle very quickly, and is rolled out and tested, and everyone gets to benefit from everyone using their words with you, instead of some other corporations where you may say, hey, it would be cool if it did this, and it's just crickets, So that's one thing that y'all have always done a good job at.
Yeah. So we've got multiple examples of developing new features during a sales cycle. So we're happy to take a bet that the customer's going to be happy by investing our own time in developing this stuff before they're a customer, right? Because we can see that perhaps not only this customer is going to benefit, but a whole bunch of people are going to benefit from what we're talking about. So we've got version 21 of RAS coming out pretty soon. That's going to go into public tech preview. It will definitely be in public tech preview by the time this goes live. So that'll be good. We've also got a tech preview of what we're calling PBI private access. So Parallels browser isolation, remote kind of browser access in a similar way that Parallels RAS Sorry, guys.
You're fine. Lights went out.
Yeah, my screen is just disconnected. I don't know why that was.
Just take it
So
back.
Parallel's browser isolation remotes browsers in a similar way to RAS remotes applications. So it hosts a secure Chromium browser in a container that the end user connects to via a brokered session. Parallel's browser isolation then connects to your SaaS application, for example. What Parallel's browser isolation private access is rather than us host that secure Linux instance with these Chromium browser containers on the top, a customer can host them themselves on their own terms. So they could host them in their own Azure instance if they wanted to. They can host them somewhere on-prem. They could host them with their kind of hosting provider if that's what they wanted to do. So they're in control of that from a security point of view. What private access also then opens is rather than just using that for SaaS security, they can also use it for kind of on-prem web-fronted applications as well. Okay. So the security play there is the fact that what we've seen happen is people have moved from a kind of VDI approach of applications to deliver them directly via SaaS. And one of the impacts of that is the data that they removed from the endpoint has now re-arrived back on the endpoint with these SaaS applications. And a lot of the architecture of these SaaS applications is not that great. It's just been rewrapped to fit inside a HTML5 tag, right? They're also surprised why it takes up all the resource on my laptop when I've only got a browser open. But that's a different conversation, right? So the data's back on the device. So it reopens the security challenge that I'd previously solved with VDI or with DAS or whatever you want to call it these days, right? So what that PBI does is it brokers that browser. So it then removes that SaaS application away from the endpoint and reintroduces that security. So private access, currently in technical preview, we're looking at launching that publicly to the market kind of early 2026.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, one of the things y'all been able to do is also been able to add value to, native RDS deployments and obviously AVD, but then Cloud PC too, right? So somebody that's been running a pure Microsoft solution can come to Parallels with, I have classic old school RDS host, or I have AVD or Cloud PC, and I need help with the management of it and the monitoring and visibility and publishing and all that. So, I mean, y'all have been able to add a lot of stuff with RAS related to those Microsoft avenues.
Yeah. There's lots of things we add, and specific customers have looked at specific things. There is things that we might consider small, things like drag and drop, for example, that we might consider small things, but are massive things when you find you can't do it, when you can't do it anymore. Yes. Right? Yep. My users have been used to doing this for 10 years, and you move to this new platform, which is 100% in the public cloud, and you think this is all great. And then the user acceptance testing is like, where's this? So it's little kind of nuggets like that, unified printing, universal print drivers, those kind of things, we reintroduce them and provide some extra value on the top. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Yeah, printing is not, you say it's little, but printing's always a headache. So it's good to anything that can be done to streamline and help there, because we all know there's always firmware with printers and printer drivers and so forth, especially in these type of environments. So it's not little; it's actually a big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So the big thing out there lately is, everyone tried to go to cloud. People are coming back to on-prem, but hybrid is kind of the big thing out there where, they're probably putting some workloads in the cloud, using cloud for DR or certain use cases or bursting. So what does Parallel see from customers as far as that for adoption?
We see a general trend to use the cloud more, but like I kind of said earlier, we're certainly not pushing customers to work in a particular way. We've got products that are 100% sitting in the public cloud, but the majority of our customers are not giving us the impression they are going to flip a 100% we're in the public cloud space anytime soon. What often happens is people at the top sign cloud consumption deals at the top, and then that creates some challenges, some budgetary challenges. These are non-technical issues, right? It creates budget challenges to the IT team further down. So what has happened is we're delivering things like Azure Marketplace solutions where people can use their Microsoft Azure credits against that software consumption, and then still utilize those credits that have been purchased without a goal in mind, which sometimes happens in a company. So there's lots of things we're seeing. Customers in general are being sensible. The customers I'm speaking to in general are being sensible. And what that means is most of them are in this hybrid world. They're in this, let's use the best platform for the right reasons. And that's this best of both worlds kind of scenario.
Yeah, I've seen a lot with customers too, where someone signed a contract and says, higher up says we have to get to cloud. We bought all this stuff. Here you go make it work. But they don't always think about the application, especially the back ends or the data gravity or what that changes to the workflows for those users. So yeah, definitely seeing those things. And that's a great thing of being able to be in the marketplace and use those cloud consumption credits to help with that. Because furthermore, that gives customers more choice as well. But also too, giving them, speaking of choice, the choice to, run things where they see fit, because I don't think I've seen anyone go 100% to cloud yet. There's always something that's trailing behind, whether it's application backends or certain data or certain use cases they can't leave their data centers or their on-premises environments for. So
Yeah. I mean, I've seen customers get close, but those customers were the ones where the dollars weren't so important.
Yep.
And there aren't that many of those customers around.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, everybody's is very conscious of the money. The penny pinching is real at this, even the largest companies, because they're always comparing their like year over year budget. And so you're saying we want something that's more expensive. Is it better? And that kind of even brings us to the next thing was, what is some of the market things that have led to more adoption to parallels, and what's those biggest migration drivers that are pulling people over and switching to parallels from, name any of the other companies. How has that been going? Because I mean, it's been pretty chaotic the past, call it 2, almost 3 years of just in the EUC VDI space with mergers and acquisitions, companies selling, going private, this, and obviously pricing and packaging has been the wildest parts for many. And I'm sure that's, and parallels, I think you all as a whole have been rock solid, and your focus and your flexibility, unlike others.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Citrix, guys, aren't we? I mean, and you both.
Yeah.
Um, so we've always been this kind of hybrid play, right? And some of the others have not. I've got friends in all the companies we might talk about, but the biggest challenge that we see, I mean, we don't speak to happy customers at people we compete with, because if they were happy, they wouldn't be speaking to us. Yeah. So we need to kind of consider that. But the people we are speaking to don't have a technical issue. It's not a technical problem normally. It's a relationship problem or a commercial problem with a business decision that, let's say, Citrix has taken. So the Citrix have taken this decision for, from their point of view, maybe a good business reason, right? They're maybe going to make more profit. They're going to make more money doing it the way they're doing it, but it means they're slimming down the company and they're lifting the kind of point of entry of a customer. So that means kind of the mid-market level customers for sure are kind of dropping out of the desirable customers that Citrix perhaps wants to keep. And that is exactly where we sit. And not only do we sit there, a bunch of other companies sit there too. So that's if I'm honest, the majority of where the kind of boost of customers has come from in the last 12 months. And if I'm being really honest, that's actually increased in the last 3 or 4 months rapidly. Because I guess not all customers' contracts expire at the same time, right? So
Yep.
you got a 3-year deal.
It's a slow burn.
So this is going to keep going for a little while. And it'll shake out eventually, but like I say, people are not leaving because the product doesn't do what they want it to do. They're leaving because, and some of them are really quite emotional about it, but they're leaving because they feel they've been left behind, I guess is the best way to word that. Other customers are really happy and they're staying where they are, but I don't get to speak to them.
So speaking of customers and use cases, any recent customer stories that you can share with us as Parallels has helped them, whether it's a long-term customer who's, gone through all the iterations of Parallels and been with you guys for a long time, or new customers coming aboard that have been unhappy with another product. So can you share with any of those top use cases or any recent customer success stories?
Well, I can share with you a recent one. I won't give you the name because I don't know I'm on this podcast. But so there was a customer who had an extremely tight time scale, and I'm going to choose my words carefully here. The time scale they had to migrate was artificially created by their current vendor. The current vendor left it as late as they possibly could to give them a renewal deal. Okay. Now, the problem with reading between the lines, and these are the customer's words, really, they were left with no choice whatsoever. They had to renew because they had such little time. We were in a conversation with them, and we basically migrated that customer with 1,500 applications within 2 weeks. So we took them from the platform they were on onto our platform. We kept the applications the same. We migrated all of their applications into Parallels RAS. And there's about 1,500 of them, that kind of number. And that all came across within 2 weeks. Now, we used a migration tool in order to do that, to export the existing settings and then bring it into Parallels RAS. But that obviously made the customer very happy. They felt empowered with that. They could go back to their existing kind of incumbent and say, hey, despite you doing all this to us, we're still moving and we've already done it successfully. So that's a pretty good story.
Yeah. And I mean, and I've had clients in the same position of they didn't get the renewal quote till it was 30 days out. And they would ask for months, like, how much is it going to cost to renew? And no one would give them an answer. And then it's like, bada bing, bada boom. I got to renew or I got to jump ship or do that. And so that's an amazing story of flexibility and also just being there to be there for your customers because you know that they're in a bad spot and you have something that can help make it better, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. I also know too that when we've spoken with Anna and Christian as well, they've talked about that rapid acceleration of migration from other products over to Parallels. So that just helps reinforce that messaging as well.
Yeah. I mean, we'd rather not do it, guys, right? We'd rather take our time and sit there and we can commercially help the transition. If they've got 3 or 4 months to run on an existing vendor, we can give them commercial terms that mean they're not playing double bubble. Those kind of things is what we'd rather do. Take your time, test it all out, and do it properly.
Yeah, I would say
sometimes,
Yeah, I would say just add on that too. Usually it's like when you have that last renewal and you have that time there is then start looking at that migration path. Don't wait until you're in the last 6 months, 90 days of that renewal. Start looking as soon as you say, hey, I'm making this renewal, but I'm going to start looking at options now and evaluating them. That way I have all my ducks in a row, that plan in place. I'm not trying to go from, 0 to 60, at the last minute. And that way we can make sure those use cases are migrated properly and nothing comes up that surprises us that could cause delays or cause issues for the business users.
Yeah, because I think what happens for some is they forget how much work it is because so many admins have just been administering their environment for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They've done in-place upgrades and they've had to go from one operating system to another on their, controllers and servers and all that. And they're like, oh, okay. but they've been able, in a couple of them, if they've been staying with the same vendor, just export, import some of the settings and then just repoint things to the right back end. And I know, leads me to the next thing is kind of the MSP world has kind of been turned upside down by some of this too, from licensing changes for many of those brokers, and hypervisor and infrastructure changes of what's supported, what's not supported. I know y'all do a good amount in that MSP space. So what's some of the MSP offering things that you've done to help make the world a little bit better place for them too?
Yeah, well, we have a full kind of SPLA license, a service provider license, which an MSP would consume, and they basically cut it into kind of pieces. So each customer would have their own kind of key, but it all boils up into the same SPLA usage. There's no I remember having to do this, and it was probably a while ago. There's no spreadsheets involved where you've got all these customer names, and this guy used 10 licenses, and this guy used 400 licenses, and all this kind of stuff. There's none of that. Licenses are collated across all of your customers in MSP, and it's all an online portal. So we already know what the license consumption is, and it's kind of billed after the fact. So from an MSP point of view, it's really quite easy because there's a concurrent usage model. What some MSPs have at the front end is a named user model, because they're not just selling us, they're selling other things. They might literally be selling the endpoint device as well, or subscribing the customers to the endpoint device, and it's per employee. With our concurrent usage model, commercially, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense because it's not tied to a particular set of users or a particular customer. It can be spread across multiple customers. So that makes it really quite useful in that space. We also have a thing called a tenant broker, which can literally isolate the whole running of individual customers. Most MSPs will share customers across at least underlying infrastructure because it's lower cost, but some need specific customers to be physically separate for particular reasons, and we can do that kind of stuff as well.
So, we kind of touched about changes in the EUC space. Let's kind of talk about that community wise, right? So, we kind of ask this to everyone that comes on here because we know there's been a lot of changes in the EUC community. Some have changed, some have gone away. Some new ones are starting. You've been a long term on the EUTE side and PubForm and other communities as well. So, what are your thoughts on all the change in the EUC community?
Well, I think some people in some companies have lost sight of the value of the community. The end user computing community, I think, is quite different. It's quite unusual in IT. If you look around other areas of IT, storage, those kind of things, they haven't got such a vibrant kind of number of people willing to spend their own time on this, right?
Yep.
But what I would say is some companies have basically said, I need to save the dollars, right? I need to save the dollars, and I can't see the leads being generated from this event that I'm paying this much for. But it's kind of short-sighted because this whole community vibe just consistently builds trust in your approach, trust in your product, trust that you're there for the long term, trust that you care about me as a customer because you're giving me this stuff without me having to pay you, license cost for it. You're educating me on all of this stuff. So I think they've kind of some have lost sight of that. I mean, we have a program that Patrick's in called the Parallels Very Important Parallels Professional. I didn't call it that. That kind of precedes my time. And obviously, people at Citrix used to have the Citrix CTP program, which was the first of its kind, right? Yeah. And when at its inception, it was amazing. And Jarian, you were there right at the beginning of that.
I was later on. I was at the beginning of the Parallels program, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that at the outset started really well. And I think some of the programs just over time moved to marketing vehicles, I guess. And the problem with being run in marketing is they get measured on leads. They get measured on what's the return on this number. And from a Parallels point of view, our kind of expert program, this VIPP program, is run from inside product. So we can manage that in a little bit of a better way without having to say, well, hang on, we haven't generated this many leads this quarter.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, I've seen so many organizations that after COVID and they didn't send anyone traveling in 2020, and then even in 2021, that budget just disappeared. And then no one's fighting to get that back in many organizations to even just say, hey, you guys should go to that event today and hear about, VDI vendor X, security vendor Y, this solution Z, whatever. Let's go ahead and pay for 2 nights at the hotel so you can go drive over there and here's some mileage money or a flight or whatever. It's like the continuing education in the corporate world has kind of really fallen off, and then that's like drug the community down with it. Now there's still places that are still living the dream and lots of people, but I think to your point, it's like the value. So many business leaders have lost what the value is, because I know one thing, I always look at it as it might as well be like a MIT lecture or something like that, or a TED talk, is you're getting like experts in their field talking about things. And I can't even quantify how much I've learned over the years of going to user groups all over the world and seeing big ones and small ones ran by this organization, ran independently, and everything in between, how much learning there is, because we're kind of all in this together. And I think that's another part people forget, is that we all have the same problems. Like printing still there. I still can't click there. There's still a ghosted session. Like it's not connected, but the user's not there. We got a black screen. We got a blue screen. Username, password, some kind of SAML thing didn't happen. We got a bad assertion. So we're all in it together. And I think that's the big thing for community is, you just got to get out there. You got to get out there and do it. It's going to make a big difference in your life.
Yeah, I mean, the community itself has completely transformed my career, as it has probably both of you guys as well.
Totally. Yep.
I would encourage anyone listening or watching this podcast, if you get an opportunity to talk about something that you have done at work and you think, oh, yeah, well, people aren't going to find it interesting, just do it anyway. Do it in any way, because the best sessions at community events, such as kind of World WC events that you guys do and that kind of stuff, is things that don't have to even work. It says, hey guys, we thought this would be great, and we did this, and this, and look at the result. This is the result. These are the mistakes we made along the way. Those are great sessions, because someone in that audience could be about to start the path that you had just walked, and you're saving them weeks and weeks and weeks of headaches.
Or the same thing too is just the connections you make. You mentioned, all of us got where we are in our careers or made great friends. One of my kids calls Shane, or my son calls Shane Kleiner Uncle Shane. How much we have gotten become really good friends in the community. But you might be facing an issue out there in your environment that someone else started to discover that you may not see in a forum or online or that kind of stuff, or just having those type of connections to say, hey, you're running a similar environment, the same to we are. Let's kind of have some kind of dialogue back and forth, a brainstorming session, or just say, hey, if I see this, I'll give you a heads up, or if you see this, give me a heads up, ask questions. So, those type of connections are very valuable out there. Just having those kind of peers out there that, if you're in the same vertical using kind of the same solution, to kind of have that to reach out to, or just making friends and that kind of stuff. So, the power of community is very strong and very valuable, because, we may be at different companies today. We could be at the same company tomorrow. And just having those type of leads too, especially when you're possibly looking to either grow in your or grow in your career or change your career type in the industry. Just having those type of connections or people that you can reach out to as well is something that you can't put a price on.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I would strongly encourage everyone to get some in-person time at the community event. It's I've learned so much. My career, all of our careers have benefited so much.
Oh yeah.
We brushed a little bit on the VIPP program. Anything more you want to dive deeper into that, or do you think we're good as far as that program overview?
It's 20 or so kind of global experts plus Patrick.
Yeah, I mean that one dude.
um, kind of the kind of people who will give us honest feedback. A lot of that feedback is very honest, and that's kind of what we need. This is where I'm going with the marketing engine. There's no point employing 20 marketing people who are going to resend a blog that I've written 20 times on LinkedIn. Not really going to drive an awful lot, but getting the feedback to say, hey, you guys said you were going to do this. Have you thought about doing it in this other way that I've seen before? And see how that goes. Have you thought about some other way of doing it? Or hey, I've got this other idea. You could do it a completely different way. That is absolute gold. And that's what our kind of VIP people are kind of is.
And I think that's a testament of Parallels overall, is being kind of customer focused and listening to those for those types of, hey, feature enhancements, requests, things like that. But then also listening to, people that are doing this out in the field, that are, running around installing the things and clicking the things and going, hey, it would be easier if we could do it this way. We should click that. We should name it this. We should make sure and tell people about this feature, because there's a lot of people that would not even know about this. They're not watching the release notes like everyone else, right? And so I think that's a really, really good thing. And that's why, the EUC community is continually growing, and you guys have been a part of it for a long time. And I know we're going to probably see you all soon, because where is the next Parallels thing? Where's the next shindig you're headed to, or user group or thing that you're going to be at?
What are we in September right now? When this goes out, I guess November is very busy. So I'm gonna be at Nutanix.next in London. .next on tour in London. There's E2E MVC, which is going to be
That's in Portugal in November, right?
Lisbon. That's in November as well.
Yep.
I think a couple of us are going to be at Microsoft Build, which is the week after E2E VC.
So you're going to be a couple of weeks on the road, like flying all over the place.
Is it Build or Ignite? Because I know Ignite's
okay. Yeah. So it's Microsoft Ignite, which is the week after E2E VC. I'm not going there, but I think a couple of us are. And I think we go into some iGel events as well.
Yep. Yeah, they're getting ready to kick off all their stuff too. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, we spoke about vendors, employers maybe contracting, but some of them are still going really strong on getting the message out there. Nutanix is one of them. iGel, Control Up, sponsoring AVD Tech Fest these days, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So there is still strength out there with some of the vendors doubling down on that stuff as well. So there are some good news stories.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been cool. I know coming to E2E for a couple years now, and seeing how many new speakers there are, just like even at UC World this year, how many new speakers there were there. That's what really lights the community on fire and gets things going, is getting that new talent there. Because just like we were saying, what's a printer, right? Some of these people don't know all these things, and they don't have to deal with floppy disk like what's over my shoulder over here, right? Like, they don't even know what that thing is. They don't even know what an AOL disk is, right? Like, why do I have to pay per hour to be on the internet? We need the new blood, because there's going to be so many people that have been born post iPhone era and have been 100% cloud and have never ran anything in any data center. And for a data center, for them, that's not even a data center. It's a region. It's a drop-down box on a menu that really doesn't have, they don't know. They just know I got one on East and one on West. We must be good, right? Replication's working. So that's one thing I'm hopeful for, as we keep seeing lots of new faces out there in the community.
Yeah, for sure. There's nothing as constant as change.
Yeah, that's right.
And if nothing else, we can tell these guys, you've never seen a kernel mode driver blue screen your entire day.
Yeah.
Well, as we close things down, thank you, Chris, for spending the time with us today. I know it's your evening. It's probably pretty much the end of your day right now, getting into your nighttime. So really appreciate your time with us. We also, thank Parallels for being a sponsor of the World of EUC. So thank you for all the support and supporting the community. We'll probably put some things we will put some things when we post this. And we'll probably get some links for you about anything else you want us to include in that. But for people listening, wanting to know more about Parallels, any more things for them to go look at?
Or get yourself to parallels.com. There's loads of links in there. We've got free trials. You can get a 30-day trial of Parallels RAS without shaking a sweat at all. These tech previews I mentioned, you can get access to those. If you can't find what you're looking for, please mention one of the guys on the podcast or contact me directly. If you're on the World of EUC Slack channel, I'm in there. So just give me a direct message.
Yep.
Patrick, any last comments from you?
No. For me, I know I'm excited. I mean, we're wrapping up 2025. 2026 is going to be here in just a snap.
So
and
fast.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to keep happening in our EUC community and our VDI world. Because I think, to Chris's point, there's a lot of people that are still in the shuffle because they had a 3-year deal and a 5-year deal, and there's going to be still a lot more change, and it's going to be constant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you all for listening to the Frontline Chatter podcast brought to you by the World of EUC. Be sure to, subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the audio through where you listen to your podcast at. Feel free to join the website if you haven't joined yet. Join the Slack as well, where we're all in there. Chris Eddie's in there, get information on Parallels, get help from Parallels in there. There's a dedicated Parallels RAS channel in there. I'm sure we can expand that as well as people start asking more about other products in the Parallel stack. I also want to thank all of our sponsors for their continued support. Our founding partners, Tenzig, Goliath Technologies, iGel, Liquidware, Omnissa, Nerdio, and Nutanix. Our channel founding sponsor, Choice Solutions. Our new core sponsors this year, Google and Parallels. And also thank you for everyone as we just wrapped up EUC World Amplify last month for all the support and supporting the community. So thank you all. And thank you for listening to the Frontline Chatter podcast. We will talk to you next time.
Thank y'all.